everyone, welcome back to our van build series. Today we're going to talk about the MaxxAir Fan installation.
So actually the installation was pretty straightforward. The hardest part, cutting a hole in the van. Yeah, that's tough. You don't really ever get over that. We did it. We're going to share our thoughts about it.
After we got the MaxxAir Fan, we unboxed it and DJ actually tested it with the EcoFlow that we had. He plugged it in to make sure that it was working before we went through with the installation.
Like you said, we don't want to get everything installed and then realize it didn't work. So if you can bench test it, definitely try to do that. So then the next step was to build a template. I wanted to build a wood bracket so the screws actually had something to bite into when we're actually screwing in the MaxxAir Fan. So I just took a couple of pieces of 1/2-inch plywood. I sandwiched them together, cut out the 14 by 14 hole in there. Then that essentially gave me a really good template to be able to scribe the hole on the inside and the outside of the van.
So once we got the template all done, we put it up and we were able to mark where we want the holes to go. One thing to know is that we center punched all of the corners before we drilled the holes. And the reason is so that the drill bit actually doesn't walk on you. Then we used a smaller drill bit to make a pilot hole, and then we use a step drill bit to go through.
There ain't no turning back now. There's daylight.
So we were trying to figure out how we're going to catch all the metal shavings, and we thought about maybe using a bag, taping something up, but then DJ had this brilliant idea to use the box that came in to catch everything. Luckily, we had the little hole things.
Doohickey? The little doohickey? It's a third hand. I think they make them to kind of help hold up cabinets as you're mounting them or drywall sheets on the ceiling. We had a couple of them laying around, and so it worked out really, really great to hold that box up there and make sure it didn't fall.
So that was perfect.
The good thing about that is you don't really have a whole lot of cleanup on the inside, because once those metal shavings just kind of go everywhere, it's really hard to get them and clean them up. They're just all over the place. So using the box really helped out quite a bit. It's time to go to the top of the van. And this is when the nerves start going. You're climbing up on the ladder, you're getting up there, you see the holes in the van, so there's no turning back. And then what you really want to do is just use painter's tape to go around the holes. That way that it can kind of prevent marring from the jigsaw, and it also gives you a nice guideline between the corners to be able to keep that jigsaw blade straight. You just want to go at a consistent speed. One of the things that you'll learn very quickly, can't really hesitate or stop, because that blade will catch that sheet metal and it'll just kind of just throw itself all over the place. You know, you have your guidelines, you got the holes, you just make the cut with the jigsaw, and now you got a 14 by 14 hole.
So once that hole is there, you actually have to clean it up and to paint it, because we don't want any rust to happen. So we actually just used Rust-Oleum black spray paint and just dabbed it all along the parts where the cuts were.
So I took the flange from the MaxxAir Fan and I put it up there. From underneath on the inside of the van, it has the little trim ring that I made out of the plywood. And then you have the sheet metal from the van and then the flange from the MaxxAir Fan. So I clamped everything in place, and I actually went through and pre-drilled all those holes out just so that it makes it a lot easier. Once everything was pre-drilled, I actually unclamped everything, and now it's time to actually apply the butyl tape. I actually went the butyl tape route because I thought it would be easier for the MaxxAir Fan installation. I've seen people do sealant. I just happened to do the butyl tape since I had some. So I think I did 3 layers of butyl tape, and I wanted to make sure that everything was compressed. Make sure you take your time around the corners, there's no gaps, and then it's go time. We took that up there to the top of the van, we put it in place, put the trim ring from underneath, got everything clamped, and then I was able to start putting the screws in.
So we wanted everything to settle overnight. However, we don't want there to just be a giant hole in the middle of our van without anything covering it. So we did put the MaxxAir Fan over it and let it sit there.
Yeah, so then we came back the next day, and since everything had kind of settled just a tad bit, we went and retorqued all the screws. That was planned because we knew that there would be some settling. Once we got everything retorqued, then I went around with lap sealant. That stuff is gross. Just take your time, try to tape so that you can have a semi-crisp line at the end. Please have gloves on. Yeah, it's like melted marshmallows. It's terrible, but it does seal everything up, and it's self-leveling, so it just kind of makes it super easy. So I did a couple of runs around the entire fan, and then I did a dab on each one of the screw heads to make sure that those were sealed. It'll just level itself out, and you just let that seal up. I think it's important too that you remove the tape before it fully sets up so that you don't end up ripping it up. So essentially that's it. Getting over the jitters of cutting a hole, I think, was one thing that we had to kind of get over, and then making sure your placement is good. Make sure you make whatever template you need to make sure it's centered. We got it in, it looks good, it works, it's functional, and yeah.
If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. We'll leave links in the description of everything that we use. If you like hearing us talk, please subscribe and like this video, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.
Welcome back, everyone. We're wearing the same
Drilled it. And the importance of
What I did was I took some clamps and just kind of sandwiched it, but lots of little sandwiches.